Hi, I'm Mark and I'm passionate about English. Okay, so if you haven't watched my mini lessons in June, I used to do silly things, wear wigs and other things, or have a bird on my shoulder or my hamster, or teach English in a headstand. Okay, just to try and encourage you to share the videos. So as it's getting close to the end of August now, close to the end of the daily mini lessons before the course, the first course begins in September, I just thought I'd wear a wig. The expression would be for old time's sake. So it's kind of just to remember the good old days. There's another expression, and or relive the past a little bit. So a few people ask me, "Oh, why don't you do that anymore?" But I really am. Here's a collocation. I'm deadly serious, or I'm dead serious about teaching you English. So perhaps if I wear a wig, some of you will think, "Oh, he can't be serious." But I can be serious about teaching English and have fun at the same time, and hopefully you can have fun as well, but still learn lots of English. Okay, so in June I did a lot of mini lessons with my 3 pots. I pulled out an idiom, I pulled out a phrasal verb, and I pulled out a collocation, and then I explained each of those. But I've still got quite a few phrasal verbs left from the phrasal verb pot, so I thought I'd just do some of those today. And of course I will be looking at phrasal verbs in each lesson of the courses, but that will only be a small part of each lesson, maybe 15-20 minutes, a bit like today will be. But first I wanted to show you a very, very good book. There you go, it's called Phrasal Verb Organizer. Lots of exercises and explanations in there, and it was actually written by John Flower, who, when I taught at Eurocenters in Bournemouth about 13 years ago, 2001, he was one of the teachers. And it was very strange, because in the staff room he was very, very grumpy and seemed unhappy all the time. But something happened when he was in the classroom, because the students all loved him. Anyway, if you ever watch this, John, hi. He must, I think he's retired now. And here's a phrasal verb, to be getting on. So if I say he must be getting on a bit now, it means he must be getting quite old. Okay, so let me just read you a tiny bit from this useful book. And I'll be putting all these things in the tab on the website called Up Your Street. And Up Your Street is an idiom which means right for you, or what I think is good, what you might like. So, what is a phrasal verb? A phrasal verb is a verb plus 1 or 2 particles. Here are some common verbs: bring, get, go, put, take, turn. And here are some common particles: up, down, out, in, off, on. Some teachers call them prepositions or adverbs, but it's easier to think of them all as particles. Here are some examples of phrasal verbs: bring in, take out, go off, get on with. To understand what the phrasal verb is, let us look at the verb get. Get as an ordinary verb, for example, can you get me a glass of milk? And here's some more examples. Get with 1 or 2 particles to form phrasal verbs. So get in, the window was open, a thief got in and stole the TV. Okay, so in this case got in means entered. Get on with. Okay, we don't get on with our neighbours. So it means we aren't friendly to each other. Of course, if you say, we get on with our neighbours, then it means you are friendly. Please get on with your work. In this case, get on with means continue. Okay, so some phrasal verbs are easy, some are more difficult to understand. Okay. Where does the particle go? Okay, so this is actually quite tricky with phrasal verbs. Tricky, I've explained in a few mini lessons. Very useful word, just means difficult. Very often the particle comes immediately after the verb, but this is not always true. So an example, the cat stayed on top of the wall and only got down at meal times. So get down or got down in this case means descend. Okay, a particle after the object. This terrible weather is getting many people down. Okay, so to get somebody down is to make them feel unhappy or depressed. So in this case, the particle has to come after the object. You can't say it's getting down many people. It doesn't sound right. Particle could be before or after the object. Did you get down all the information? Or did you get all the information down? Okay, both examples mean did you make a note or did you take notes? But if the object is a pronoun, the particle comes after. So did you get it down? Not did you get down it? Okay. So there's a useful book, and of course there are lots of useful books. Some are a little bit more drier than others, but that's quite a good one. It's difficult to be very interesting and creative with phrasal verbs, but they really are very important in English. Okay, so I will just go through some of the phrasal verbs remaining from my pot. To deal with. Okay, so Louise is just coming near my coffee. I'll just move that there. If you don't know, Louise is my baby seagull. She may come behind me at some point, and now she's taking the microphone lead. Ah dear. As I've explained in one lesson, never work with animals or children, they say in the movies and TV, because they are difficult to work with or they steal the limelight. So to deal with. Okay, so let's say somebody comes to me and says, I've got a bit of a problem, can you help me with it? And I could say, I'll deal with it. Okay, so it means I'll do it, I'll sort, there's another one, sort it out, sort out the problem. Okay, so it's very useful one. That let me think of another example. Well, I could just say to the guy who's looking after my website, this is not right, can you deal with it? It means can you fix it, can you sort it out? Very useful one. Okay, blow out, that's easy. Well, there is actually a blowout is when you're driving and the tyre goes flat, especially suddenly if you are driving. But usually blowout is especially, for example, with a birthday cake. You have candles, and then you blow out. Well, you blow them out. Okay, you actually don't blow out the candles. Well, we say that, but of course you are actually blowing out the flame, not the actual candle. But yeah, we say that. Yeah, okay. So that would be especially, for example, candle or something else which is small that you can extinguish. That's the word. But we don't really use words like that so often. Own up. Okay, I think this may have come up in another mini lesson. Own up just means to confess. So I don't know, maybe there's some children living next door and one of them breaks my bedroom window, And I go next door. I said, look, which one of you did this? Own up. Which one of you did this? Tell me, confess. And one of them says, okay, I'm sorry, I own up. It was me. Okay, again, very useful. Okay, what's this one? Okay, yeah, I've covered this a little bit. Very, very useful. I gave the example with Graham in the Beatles Answers mini lesson. He sometimes calls me up and says, can I pop round? Okay, so we use pop in phrasal verbs a lot. And I think I've said also, it's not the sort of thing you'd see in textbooks so much or learn in high school, not the sort of thing you'd find in exams, but in natural English we use it a lot. So it's always to do with a short time. So when he says, can I pop round, he means for half an hour or maybe an hour, but not all evening. Or maybe I'm going somewhere in his car and I say, oh, can you stop? I need to pop into the shop. So I just need to go into the shop quickly. Or he says, can I come round? Can I pop round? And I say, well, can you come round at 5? Because I'm just popping over to see a friend at 3:30. So I'm going just a short time to see a friend, and then he's coming to see me for a short time. Pop in, pop out, or somebody says, "Can I Skype you later?" I say, "Well, I'm just popping out for an hour. Can you Skype me after?" Pop in, pop out, pop round, pop into, and there are more with pop. Okay, take off. Okay, the first thing I think of is an aeroplane. It takes off and then it lands. But you could also say to me, I hope your business takes off. It would mean in this case, I hope your business is successful. Or we'd also say an idea. So, well, let's say Skype. I just mentioned Skype. So I think Skype has really taken off. It means it's become popular, become successful. Give out. Okay, so that's quite easy. You just give things out in a classroom, for example. That's all of these will have other, or many of them will have other meanings, but I just want to go through them fairly quickly. But I would recommend you look them up in a dictionary too, or just put them in internet. For example, if you put Google and forgot what it was already. Yeah, give out and then meaning, or give out and definition. You'll get all sorts of different websites which will explain that and give you examples. But of course the thing you won't have, which is what I hope you find useful with this, is you're getting a native English speaker, so it's good listening practice. So I'm not just doing this to explain these things, but really so you get good listening. Okay, to eat out just means to go to a restaurant. So I could say, how often do you eat out? And you could say, oh, almost every night, or once a week, or once in a blue moon. Once in a blue moon means not very often. All right. Okay, this is a very, very useful phrasal verb. To look forward. Okay, look forward is to look to the future, but actually this one is look forward to. So if is very often used when someone invites you out. There's another one, invite out. So somebody says, shall we go out for a meal tomorrow? And I could say, yeah, I'd love to. And then what time shall we meet? Where shall we meet? And then at the end we would very often say, I'm looking forward to it. So it means I'm really excited, I'm happy we are going out. And often at the end of an email, or in the old days, a letter, we'd say, I look forward to hearing from you, or I look forward to your reply. Very, very useful. What's that one? Okay, rule out. Okay, so if you could say, I wouldn't rule that out. So it means I wouldn't exclude it. You could often hear politicians saying this about things they're planning to do, and they're being interviewed. Would you do this? Would you do that? And they might say, well, I wouldn't rule it out. So they are actually not saying definitely yes or no. But it means exclude, really. Okay, I've got too many to do them all, I think. Taste of. Okay, so if something tastes of chocolate, it may or may not have chocolate in it. Could be chocolate flavouring, for example. So yeah, it's when something tastes similar to something else, either because it does have something of that in it, or it's been made to taste like that. Okay, get up is so easy. You get up in the morning when you wake up, and then you get out of bed. So you get up. What time do you get up usually? Okay, and then if you have your breakfast, you wash up. Okay, that's to clean the dishes. Fill up. Okay, so I should have had that one before. If you want to make coffee, you fill up the kettle. Okay, fill up is right to the top. So maybe you don't need to fill up the kettle. That's a kind of waste of energy if you're only making 1 cup. But to fill up is right to the top. And well, in Britain now, all the petrol stations are self-service. Well, almost all. But other countries, I know when I was in Greece, for example, that they always fill up your car, the people who work there. But anyway, if you wanted to say in English, right to the top, for fuel, you would say fill her up. You can hear that in movies quite often. Dropout. Okay, so dropout is when you stop doing something, especially a course or especially university. So or school. So I dropped out of school when I was 16, or I started at university, but after 6 months I dropped out. It means you kind of decided to stop and finish. Often a little bit negative. I was doing a film course recently, which I was a bit disappointed with it, and I said to somebody, I'm thinking of dropping out. I didn't, but I was thinking about it. Okay, I think just 2 more, so this lesson isn't too long. To get into. Okay, so I could say I really got into filmmaking. So when I did the course, it inspired me, and I became very interested. So I got into filmmaking. Or when I was young, I really got into music. I became interested in music. But I never got into Bob Dylan. I never became interested in Bob Dylan's music. All right, 2 more. Freshen up, we've had. Okay, freshen up is not really, it's not take a long time. It's just quickly wash, maybe brush your teeth, hair. If you're a woman, maybe a little bit of makeup or something. Maybe change your t-shirt, but it doesn't mean take a long time. It's just a quick get clean. That's keeps happening. That's we have ice cream vans in Britain that go around the roads and stop, and then kids come out and buy an ice cream. But the weather's not so great today. Okay, to be in. Okay, so this just means at home, and then I'll make this the last one. So again, I could use my friend Graham. He said, will you be in at 5? And as I used before, I say, well, actually, I'm just popping over to see a friend, or I'm popping out to the shops, but I will be in at 5. I'll be at home. Okay, so that is the end of today's mini lesson. Several new phrasal verbs. Don't forget, it's not just about learning the phrasal verbs, it's also good listening. And the more, if you have time, and the more you listen, the more times you listen to each mini lesson, obviously they will sink in more deeply. The phrasal verbs and the rhythm of English and all the other words I'm using. Even without trying, you will start to get more familiar with English. Excuse me. Okay, so that's it for today. Thanks very much, and I'll see you in the next mini lesson without a wig. Bye for today.